I will feast at the table of the Lord. I will feast at the table of the Lord.
Hi friends, on this Sunday, April 26th, it's a real joy to come to you again from my kitchen table. As we're exploring being at the table with Jesus, we're spending 6 weeks together as a congregation, walking through the Gospel of Luke. We are exploring 6 different meals that Jesus eats, that Jesus participates in with his disciples. And so today we're going to look at Jesus feeding the 5,000. It comes to us again in the Gospel of Luke, and it comes to us at a place called Bethsaida, just north of the Sea of Galilee. We're going to explore that in just a little bit. It's a privilege to gather with you in this way, in this digital way. We're going to spend time praying together. We're going to spend time worshiping. We're going to spend time singing. And I hope that you might, even in your living room, that you might sing together. And again, we're going to learn how Jesus eats and the meals that he shares with those that he loves, with those that he encounters. So glad to be with you today. We're going to begin with a really wonderful and beautiful song just called, it's a simple phrase, the title of it is called Sanctuary. And the words are just simply this: Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary. It's a way in which you might pray that God might enter into you, that you might be a safe and welcoming place for the Spirit of God to fill you and to uplift you today. Thanks for being here. Let's sing together.
Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
As we jump into this text together from Luke chapter 9, I want to thank, Ethan and Nathan and Tanner, Ben, and Dean, who read for us this text for us. But I want you to pay attention to a couple different things. The first is this: Jesus is interrupted. The disciples and Jesus have just spent a long time being in ministry, being out in ministry. And I don't know if you know this or not, but sometimes ministry, it's exhausting. And so the disciples and Jesus, they're going to go away for a little bit. They're going to go to Bethsaida to retreat for a little bit. Pay attention to the fact that Jesus and the disciples, they get interrupted. And then think about what they do when they get interrupted. They pay attention to the interruptions. Interruptions aren't always good, but in this case, it turns out to be a pretty good thing. The other thing I really want you to pay attention to is just this: as Jesus and his disciples encounter this problem. There's 5,000 men, let alone women and children. So lots and lots and lots, thousands of mouths that are hungry. The disciples, they come to Jesus and they say this, we don't know where we're going to get the food. We don't have enough to feed all of these people. Jesus turns to those disciples and says this, you give them something to eat. Jesus turns to his disciples and says, you give them something to eat. It's a way of empowering his disciples, but I believe it's also a call for you and for me. How will we respond to the needs of those around us? Luke chapter 9, beginning verse 10.
9:10 through 17. On their return, the apostles told Jesus all they had done. He took them with him and withdrew privately to a city called Bethsaida.
When the crowds found out about it, they followed him. And he welcomed them and spoke to them about the kingdom of God and healed those who needed to be
The
cured.
day was drawing to a close, and the 12 came to him and said, send the crowds away, so that they may go into the surrounding villages and countryside to lodge and get provisions, for we are here in a deserted place.
But he said to them, you give them something to eat. They said, we have no more than 5 loaves and 2 fish, unless we are to go and buy food for all these people.
For there were about 5,000 men. And he said to his disciples, make them sit down, in groups of about 50 each. They did so, and made them all sit down.
The 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke them, and gave them to the disciples to set before the crowd.
And all ate and were filled. What was left over was gathered up, 12 baskets of broken pieces.
So one of the things that I got a goatee right now. One of the things that I would kind of secretly desire, secretly hope for you as a congregation, is that you might know a little bit of biblical geography. So Katie is going to help me with learning just a little bit of biblical geography. So remember that this story takes place in Bethsaida. So, Katie, hold up these maps here for me. Okay, so this right here, Mediterranean Sea over here. Okay, right? This is Egypt over here. You can see the little green. You can hold it. The green, the Nile River Basin, and then Saudi Arabia over here, Israel, and then we have the Dead Sea, the River Jordan, and the Sea of Galilee. This little red dot way up here. You can't see it yet. We're gonna get closer. That's where we're going. Okay, Katie, next page.
Whoa.
Whoa. All right, so we're getting closer, all right? Dead Sea down here, the Jordan River here, and the Sea of Galilee up here. We're going again to this red dot up at the top here. That's where Bethsaida is. All right, Katie, next page.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Really zoomed in.
We're getting closer. All right. So, again, remember the Jordan River flows between the Sea of Galilee all the way down to the Dead Sea. And this is the Sea of Galilee over here. And up over here is where the story of the story that we're reading today takes place. One of the things that I want you to notice is that as the disciples and Jesus are coming across the sea, people will be able to see them. And that's why this crowd gathers, because they say, oh, Jesus is crossing the lake with his disciples. And they wanted to follow him. They wanted to learn from him. And that's why they kind of interrupt him. All right, let's get real close now. Whoa, all right. So here, again, is the Sea of Galilee. And up here, you got to hold on to it. Up here is, you got it? You sure? Okay. Up here is probably where this story takes place, Bethsaida. And again, remember, as Jesus and his disciples are floating across the Sea of Galilee, all of these people who are maybe watching saying, hey, oh, there's a boat coming across. It's coming this way. That's Jesus. That's his disciples. Let's go follow him. Let's go learn from him. Let's go listen to what he has to say. And then they get into trouble because they're up here and they don't have anything to eat. So that's your little geography lesson for today.
History.
Geography. What will you do with interruptions in your life? See them as opportunities, see them as obstacles. I want to share with you just a little bit of interruption that we're experiencing in our house right now. 2 puppies, one named Cherry and one named Moose. Take a look. All right, this one's yours. This one's mine. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about today, and one of the things that speaks to us speaks to us in this text is the power of interruptions. Remember, the disciples and Jesus, they had just had a long struggle of ministry, and in some ways in this text they're kind of going away for a little bit of a retreat, but they're interrupted by a crowd. I wanted to show you some interruptions that we've had in our family in the last, how long have we had these pups? Just a week?
Yeah.
Just a week. So Katie, what are the names of these pups? We are fostering these 2 from
Moose.
Forever Home.
Yes, this is Moose.
Moose and
Cherry.
And Cherry. What's unique about Moose and what's unique about Cherry? Or what's special about them?
I don't know.
Which one's bigger? Which one's darker?
This one's bigger. This one's darker.
So Cherry is bigger than Moose.
Yes.
Which is a little weird. Kinda. Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. This one has white paws.
Yes. And they're wonderful and they're awesome. But here's the deal. We signed up to be foster parents for Forever Home Dog Rescue, but one of the things that means is that we get interrupted. We usually get to pick up some dogs on Saturdays, and we get them for a week or 2 or maybe shorter, but they kind of come into our house and they interrupt our lives. But you know what's really awesome? Well, 1, they're really, really cute, and 2, they're a lot of fun, and they are really, really easy to love. And I wanted to think about the interruptions that we have so often in our lives. They might not always be as awesome or as cute and cuddly as a little puppy, but often we are called to pay attention to the interruptions that happen around us. And so today, as we read through this text, I wanted to think first about interruptions and the power that interruptions have for us and can do for us. Pay attention to those things that might call you, that might get in the way, but that might call you into something new. Jesus and his disciples were interrupted by the crowd, and it turned out to be a really, really good thing. I hope you enjoyed meeting Cherry and Moose. They're fun for us to love on for a little bit, and pretty soon they're going to go find a forever home. How do you handle interruptions? I know I don't handle them all that well, especially in these moments when I'm spending what seems like just a whole extra bunch of time on my computer, editing different things for you to take a look at. When I'm interrupted, I don't feel so good. Jesus is interrupted by this crowd. Remember, they're watching him come across the Sea of Galilee. They're streaming to him. They're saying, "Hey, he's gonna show up over here. Let's go see him. Let's go hear from him. Let's learn from him." Jesus and his disciples had an opportunity to say, "Nah, we're busy. Nah, we got other stuff to do." Jesus pays attention, especially to those in need. And I hope and pray that you might too. I also want to think with you just for a little bit about the fact that, boy, this is an interruption for us right now, isn't it? Our whole lives, they're tossed to and fro. There's all kinds of things that are getting in our ways. We're not able to do the things that we would want to do, the things that were on our calendars. All of those things are being interrupted right now. And I know that there are lots of new opportunities that are in front of us right now. And they're in front of us because of the interruptions. Because we weren't able to do this thing, now we have this opportunity in front of us. Because this thing got taken off the calendar, now we're able to do this thing. I hope and pray that you might experience this interruption, not as a blessing, but that you might be blessed by it. Not to say that this is entirely good, there is incredible good that's coming out of it. There's all kinds of new things and new opportunities that are coming. When we're interrupted, how will we respond? You know, often we look at the problems in front of us and we say, it's just too big. It's just too much. The mountain in front of me, it's too tall. I couldn't possibly climb it. At least in this text, the disciples were faced with a really big problem. All of these people. Do you know what hungry people do? Hungry people get a little bit cranky. Hungry people get a little bit agitated. They get a little bit excited. They start to think, where are we going to get our food from? The disciples, maybe they were almost even facing some sort of a riot on their hands. Jesus doesn't let the disciples off the hook with that big problem in front of them. We may indeed be facing really big problems in our lives. And in fact, I know that there are many of you in our congregation, many of you in our community that are facing really big problems. And Jesus turns to you and to me and says, get after it. Go do it. You give them something to eat. That's what Jesus says to his disciples. But notice this. Jesus doesn't leave them alone. Jesus doesn't abandon them. In fact, Jesus gathers up what the disciples are able to collect, and he blesses it, he breaks it, he distributes it, and multiplies it. Jesus, I wonder, turns to you and to me too. It says, you, give them something to eat. And then whatever small resources we gather together, God gathers together, blesses it, breaks it, and multiplies it. Over the course of the last several months, almost 2,000 people have come through the food pantry that we are privileged to host to get food. More than 2,000 people have come in the last couple of months to get food. Feeding one person, that might be a task that some of us could even handle. Feeding 4 or 5 people, that might be something that some of us might be up to. But 2,000? No way. And then the disciples look at 5,000? No way. And Jesus looks at them squarely in the eye and says, get after it. Go do it. You give them something to eat. As Jesus looks at the disciples with the challenge in front of them, feeding thousands of hungry mouths, Jesus turns to those disciples and says, yep, it's going to be hard. Gather up what you can. I'm going to take what you are able to give, and I'm going to bless it. It will be multiplied, and it will be a gift of abundance. In fact, so much will come from this small gift that there will be 12 baskets full to give to those in need. Interruptions, challenges, obstacles, and small little gifts that become multiplied to further the kingdom of God. Hey, one of the things I miss the most about not being able to gather together, one is not seeing your beautiful faces, but two, I miss being able to celebrate with. Remember, on after the announcement times, we usually get together and we celebrate birthdays, we celebrate anniversaries, and so I thought, rather than doing that in person, I asked you to send in some letters and asked you to send in some pictures, and wanted to just celebrate those with you today. Hey, Daryl Jurgens, our faithful organist. Daryl turned, I don't know how old he turned, but he had a birthday on the 24th. We're so thankful for you, Daryl. Happy birthday to you. Teresa Drew, who we continue to hold in prayer, especially Paul, as he continues to recover from a stroke that he had a couple of weeks ago. But continue to uplift Paul, but celebrate Teresa's birthday on Friday, April 24th. Hey, Sophie May Lund had a birthday on Saturday, April 25th. Happy birthday to you, Sophie. We miss celebrating with you, but we give thanks to God for you. Many of you know Christy Grosskreutz very well because she works over at the new elementary school. But Christy is having a birthday coming up on the 28th. Hey, be sure to reach out to her and celebrate her on the 28th. Amy Havoc had a birthday on the 25th. Happy birthday to you, Amy, on the 25th. And her daughter Zoe is having a birthday on May 2nd. You remember Zoe works over at Grounds Around Town, that coffee truck that parks in our parking lot on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Stop on by and wish Zoe a happy birthday on May 2nd. Luke Iverson had a birthday, or is having a birthday coming up on May 2nd. Happy birthday to you, Luke. We give thanks to God for you. And then a couple anniversaries. Justin and Amanda Fletcher had an anniversary on April 17th. Justin and Amanda, we give thanks to God for you and for the gift of your family and for the gift of marriage and for the gift of an anniversary for you. And this is a real special one. Eugene and Carolyn Schultze had an anniversary on the 11th. It was a really special one. 50 years of marriage. We give thanks to God for you, Gene and Carolyn, our faithful custodians, faithful members of our congregation. We give thanks to God for all of you and for all of the celebrations that we're missing and all the ways in which we can celebrate in just a little bit of a different way. Happy birthday. Happy anniversary. Hooray! One more. Joey Bonson and Haley Moore got married at church on Saturday. Happy marriage in a digital way to you guys. It's a privilege week after week to come to you, to be with you, and to share in this new digital way of doing worship. One of the things that I miss dearly is uplifting situations and uplifting individuals in prayer in our times of worship. I want to invite you to continue to reach out to me and to others and to ask for prayers. It's a privilege for us and it's a calling for us as a congregation to be in prayer for those who are in need. When the church gathers, we gather and pray for 3 different distinct groups, for the church and for the world and for all of those in need. I would ask you to continue to uphold the church in your prayers. Yes, New Life Lutheran Church. Yes, the national church. Yes, the church global. Continue to ask God to continue to bless places of worship and places of nourishment, places of witness, with boldness, with courage, with faith. I want to invite you to continue to pray for the world, for the national, for the local, for the state leaders who are guiding us and tending us, steering us as a people through these days. I get to be on a weekly call with the school superintendent and with some representatives from the city, with the fire chief, with the police chief, with members of the Chamber of Commerce. And I want you to know that those folks who love and care for this community, they need your prayers. We continue to ask God to guide and protect and to give courage to those who are leading this nation, this world, this state, and this community. And I also want to invite you to continue to pray boldly Continue to pray deeply, especially for those who are in need. There are many who are at home now, and sometimes home is a really good place. And there are many who are in homes that just are not good places. Uphold people who are in difficult situations right now in your prayers. Continue to uplift those who are without transportation, those who are without food, those who are without heat or energy, those who are without companionship. There are many in our congregation who live by themselves. Reach out to those folks. I hope and pray that your prayers might have legs, might have arms, might have fingers to write notes to those who are alone this week. It's our privilege to pray for the church and for the world and for all of those in need. Thank you for continuing your prayer life, even as we can't gather together. As we now close our time of worship together, I want to remind you to set an extra table setting for Jesus. As Jesus teaches us through these meals in the Gospel of Luke, I want to invite you to make room for Jesus in your family dinners, in your dinner time, whether you are at home alone or whether you gather in a large family. Set a place for Jesus. And especially on Sundays, I'd love for you to make a special meal, to be joined with one another and to take time out of these crazy times for family, for fellowship, for laughter, and for joy. And then to invite Jesus to come and be a part of all of those things. If you're able and if you would like, I would love for you to end that meal, or maybe to begin it, however you'd like, with bread and with wine. I'd invite you to share in a sacramental presence of God in your mealtime, especially on Sundays. If you gather, grab some bread or some cracker, grab whatever means you have available, grab some wine or some juice, again, whatever means you have available, trusting that God works through ordinary things. And that you might receive Christ in bread and in wine, that you might receive Christ in body and in blood. We remember that in the night in which he was betrayed, our Lord Jesus, he took bread, he gave thanks, he broke it, he gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat. This is my body, which is given for you. Do this for the remembrance of me." Again, after supper, he took the cup, he gave thanks, he gave it for all of them to drink, saying, "This cup is the new covenant of my blood, to shed for you and for all people for the forgiveness of sin. Do this for the remembrance of me." As often as we eat of this bread, as often as we drink of this cup, we proclaim our Lord's death until he comes again. So, good friends, thanks for joining us today for worship in your home. Boy, these are weird times. Boy, these are odd times, but I'm so glad to be able to be with you. And now, as the worship concludes, I hope and pray that the service might begin, that you might join in serving and loving and caring for those who are in need. And remember, when you see a need in the world, when you see somebody hungry, when you see somebody lonely, when you see somebody in need, remember Jesus, he turns to his disciples and says, "Get after it. Go get it. You give them something to eat." I hope and pray that you and I might do the very same thing. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face shine on you. May the Lord's grace surround you and fill you and give you courage and strength for the days ahead. Amen. And thanks be to God.
He will restore.